We might as well start the show with some breaking news. AB will not be on the show today. Apparently, 3 men in black suits showed up at the office yesterday wanting to question him about the Red Lobster bankruptcy and insider trading. But we'll get through the show without him. Let's talk about what? NVIDIA earnings, Palo Alto. 2 bad quarters in a row. That's not a great sign. Macy's, is it cheap at $20? We'll discuss that as well. Also, Red Dog, Scott Redler, joins us at 8:35 to give us his insights on the markets. It's Tuesday. It's a quiet market, but this is pre-market prep.
Welcome to Benzinga's pre-market prep.
This is a volatile puppy here.
It's all about execution styles and strategies.
All right. Good morning, traders and investors. We're up couple handles, double close right at this area, all-time closing high, all quiet before the storm. Buck in the red by just a few pennies at the 104.5 area. TLT, a little bit of a decline off that $92 level. Crude taking a hit down a $1.50, 77.80. Gold in the red after a wild day yesterday. That's down 11.60 at 24.26.90. Silver all of a sudden $32. Look at the daily charts, matching highs and matching lows. That's down 40 cents, just above $32. Bitcoin adding to yesterday's gain. That's up $1,000 at 71,435. Let's bring in a tired but happy and ecstatic Edmonton Oilers fan.
Oh, so tired and so stressed out. I literally lost 2 years of my life watching that last 8 minutes. Holy, bring an AB for this here too. AB was watching a bit of the game, but I think he went to sleep early here. I did not. I was so stressed out. So Oilers coasting to the 3-0 victory. 8 minutes to go. And then McLeod, fans on the pass, gives it away in front of his own net. And Vancouver quickly scores, and it's 3-1. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I've seen this, story before because the Oilers blew the 4-1 lead in Game 1. These same Vancouver Canucks came back from a huge deficit against Nashville with just 2 minutes to go. So this team is the comeback kids, and when you get them fired up and you get the building fired up like that, you know you're in for a long 8 minutes. The next couple minutes go by okay, and then with 4.5 minutes to go, big blast from the point, and it's 3-2, and I'm like, they're gonna blow it. I'm like, they're gonna blow this 3-0 lead with 8 minutes to go, and I'm never gonna live this down because everyone around me is Leaf fans, and everyone else is just going to laugh at me, and all I'm like just saying, what am I going to say tomorrow when they've blown? I've already accepted. So it's 3-2 Oilers, and I've already accepted they're blowing this lead. Next couple minutes go okay, but then with like 11 seconds to go, they almost score, but Zadorov blocks his own teammate's shot, and then anyways they end up winning, and I'm like, holy, I lost like 2 years of my life watching that in the last 8 minutes. That is the most stressful thing. You think the markets are stressful? When your team's holding on to a 1-goal lead, that's stressful.
Yeah, 8 minutes to go. I didn't know that's when the comeback. There was 8 minutes, but
they were coasting at that point, Joel. Like that, Vancouver had a power play with like 10, 12 minutes to go. They didn't even get a shot, I don't think. They were really playing well, but all it takes is one mistake to ignite the other team, and it's one mistake. And then, then they start feeling it, and they can feel the comeback, and the energy's in the building. Momentum is everything in sports. You know that too. In every single sport, momentum is everything. And when you've got it, it's great. When you've lost it and trying to get it back, it's tough. But you know what the coach did good? After they scored the 3-2 goal, he called a timeout. Yep. And then he just calms down the troops, saying, McDavid was saying, just calm down. You guys got this. You've been here before. Just play hockey. You guys got this. And then they obviously, did hold the fort. But holy, wow. Dallas Stars, next round, starts Thursday. More stress for me and more sleepless nights.
Who's your prediction to come out of the East, Dennis?
I've had 4. So actually, my hockey pool has 115 people in there. I'm currently 5th. I got 3 of the 4 teams. I got Florida and I had Carolina, but I also had a little bit. So you had to pick players. I did hedge myself and took Panarin from the Rangers, which helped a bit. And then I got the Dallas Edmonton on that side. So I picked all Dallas Stars and all Edmonton Oilers coming from the West. So I'm actually in pretty good shape. I have the Oilers to win the cup. You can't bet against your team. So if the Oilers win the cup, I could win that hockey pool with 115 people in it. So it's possible.
Okay. All right.
Anyways, not sports talk. The Oilers Stars is going to be a great series. Stars aren't going to roll over them. Some people saying they're going to roll over them. They're not going to roll over them, but it's going to be a good series. Stars are slightly favored going into it.
Okay, AB, let's go. I'm trying for a segue easy, Mike, and it's not easy, Mike. But let's start with an earnings miss yesterday. Palo Alto, 2 quarters in a row. What do you got for me? Give me the numbers.
This is kind of some deja vu here for Palo Alto Networks. So PANW reported earnings yesterday. EPS came in at $1.32, beat the $1.25 estimate. Sales came in at $1.985 billion, beat the 1.96. Wait, oh yeah, 1.96 billion. So double beat there, but the guidance was just in line. So like I think the market was looking for a little bit more positive guidance. Instead, that guidance came in just in line with expectations. Stock, of course, traded lower. At one point was down more than like 10%, got down to below 300, then came back a little bit, now right around 303. So I mean, we've talked about this industry a lot. You know, Chaikin likes the cybersecurity plays as more and more companies adopt AI tools. I think, you know, it's a dip buying opportunity potentially, but it's not good to see, you know, it come down on 2 earnings reports in a row.
Yeah, 54 times earnings if you just take that guidance multiple for 2024. So it's not cheap. It hasn't been cheap. It's never been cheap. I mean, if you had Palo at 30 times earnings, you'd scoop it up, you know, and it'd be a no-brainer. At 54 times earnings, it's tough, but they still come in, they buy the dip here. Obviously, still a huge earnings growth story here. It's in a little bit of a lull here, but cybersecurity is not going away. You're going to continue to need it. Competition is in the space. Obviously, there's a lot of other players as well, but Palo Alto has always been best of breed here. They are buying the dip, Joel. Got down.
Yeah, they are.
Kramer helping it last night. He had the CEO on. He said this is different this time. And what Kramer also said was, he says, go ahead and sell it. I'll buy it from you. So, I mean, so he gave it a pretty good vote of confidence. It did start to climb after he said that. Didn't rip higher, but it's been a slow, steady climb since those comments last night on Mad Money here. 303. I mean, there's dip buyers for good stocks. You know, buy good companies, reasonable valuations. It's definitely a good company. I wish the valuation was more reasonable.
Wow. Let's see. Pre-market low 291.55. Let's see. I don't really see any daily lows here, so I'm gonna make this an easy setup for you guys.
Okay.
They've already bought the dip, right? So I don't think you're gonna see that the pre-market low. I think that things are really gonna thicken up. And if I would have been on a couple hours after hours yesterday, I would have said, so let's see what happens at 295. Just for the simple reason, 260 to 328, that's halfway back. So you had buyers all the way from 3 to 325. I think what you want to see over the next week is build a little base here, 295, 298, 300, 4 days, build a little base, and then go up. And I mean, if it could ever get into that gap area from the last report, you got some room on the upside, but definitely not shorting it $21 and also not expecting it to see that pre-market low at 291.55.
CrowdStrike, obviously up here. Seems like CrowdStrike always bounces back. It's hit. Maybe it got hit on the Palo Alto Networks last quarter and then bounced right back on its own earnings report viciously here. CrowdStrike seems to always, perform well. Fortinet, FTNT, we talked about it yesterday. It's obviously down in sympathy here. Cloudflare, NET down a little bit. If you want to really go off the board, Sentinel-1S, which is starting to look perky. Sentinel-1 has really been crushed. And it's starting to try to come back here. It's actually looks a little bit interesting. That's the old FireEye. It's always kind of been worst of breed, though, so you never expect too much from them. But Sentinel-1, I don't know if there's any others reporting this week. I was just looking at my earnings calendar. I think we're through most of them. I think we're actually through most of the cybersecurity reports.
All right, let's bounce around a little bit.
Workday. That's not cybersecurity, though, right?
No,
cloud. Salesforce spinoff.
No, they all go through the cloud. They all go.
Everything's cloud.
Yeah,
Every
cloud.
stock's a cloud stock.
Yeah. Okay.
Every stock's a cloud stock, and every stock's an AI stock.
Let's bounce around a little bit, and we'll
Sure.
get back to earnings in a second. But one of the biggest headlines yesterday, coming in the crypto space. So we had Eric Balchunas from Bloomberg tweeting. Let me just pull up the tweet real quick so I don't, we'll go word for word here. We don't need to paraphrase him because we can share his Twitter. So Balchunas tweeted yesterday that the ETH ETFs he believes are now have, he says, update.
Ether.
Jay Seth, I don't know who this is, and I are increasing our odds of a spot Ether ETF approval up to 75%, up from 25%. Hearing chatter this afternoon that SEC could be doing a 180 on this, increasingly political issues. So now everyone's scrambling. Like us, everyone else assumed they'd be denied. See Nate's tweet below for probably order of events. So after this tweet, ETH went up like at first 10%, then it kept going. Bitcoin went up on the news too, which to me, and we'll break down the action real quick, the price action, was surprising because once we saw Bitcoin actually, the approval happen, it did end up being somewhat of a sell the news event where Bitcoin actually retreated after the ETFs and then came back a little bit. So again, ETH got a huge boost yesterday off this rumor that the Ether ETFs could be coming and could be coming soon. I think now if you're buying it, but clearly traders are thinking this will be a good boost for the Ethereum if it does get approved.
Not surprising that this is eventually. I believe it's going to get approved here too. I mean, they did the Bitcoin. Why not do the Ethereum here too? It's a huge move. So ETHE, if you want to track it, is the grayscale. Obviously, it's not an ETF because that's what they're trying to approve here, but it's the grayscale Ethereum Trust. It opened at $23. It closed up at $28.71 and is now $31.59. So you're talking about, what is that, a 30% move here in 24 hours. So it's a huge move, and you're definitely chasing at this point in time. But again, these things can run, on this news. We've seen it run, Bitcoin run up on it as well. We're not that far, I don't think, from all time. Well, I guess we are. If you go back, just looking at Ethereum, if you go back to 2019, we were higher, but we're not that far from recent highs, at least on ETHE. I think you could buy pullbacks here. I don't have any Ethereum. I'm all Bitcoin. I did at one time. I actually did really well on Ethereum when I had it, but I'm all Bitcoin at this point in time. I think on pullbacks it's probably gets approved and it's probably still buying pullbacks, but you need a significant pullback, not like a $1 pullback.
Yeah, I'm just looking at way off the all-time high here. Dennis, the ETHE, I got it OTC print at 28.44.
It's OTC. It's at 31.59 this morning.
Okay. All right. I mean, if your target is in this area, there's really not much on the daily levels if you're trading this. So keep an eye. I don't have on this. My system's not showing that because it's OTC. Just keep an eye on your pre-market high. And I like what AB said about the price action in Bitcoin. We'll see if it will mirror that. I mean, it turned out they hit it on that, but boy, oh boy, it came roaring back after they digested that ETF news. So see if that pattern holds true.
All right, let's keep things ticking. I guess before we get back to earnings, we'll do another story from yesterday. Let's go to Hims real quick. So Hims and Hers, which of course is a telehealth play that delivers people their medicine, announced that they will be offering a $200 Ozempic alternative, a GLP-1. And this, I mean, we haven't seen this in a while. I remember last year, like when the GLP-1s, when the weight loss drugs started getting hot, you had like Weight Watchers, WW announced they were getting in the business, and then the stock went up 50%. I feel like we haven't seen any crazy moves based on the weight loss drugs recently. Well, Hims closed up about 30% yesterday based on this news. The stock had already been. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just because they're offering a GLP-1 injection, like
yeah,
30%, just because they didn't create one, they're just offering.
No, I same thing, Dennis. Same thing. Go ahead, AB.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have a couple different things here. Is like the price point is very attractive. So for like $200 a month, you can get this drug versus I know the Ozempic or the Mounjaros are costing people thousands of dollars a month for, at some places. And then Hims had already been, I mean, if you look at the chart, Hims had already been kind of breaking out before then. It traded off after hitting near $20, came down to around 10. The CEO made some controversial comments a couple weeks ago, had some people selling the stock. Since then, it has come roaring back. It reported earnings like a week or two ago. And then, yesterday's price action brought it up to its highest point since July 2021. So, I mean, people are liking the news. I mean, I think if you're in the market for a GLP-1, but you're on a budget, this becomes a viable option.
And this is just this market in a nutshell here. It loves anything to do with AI, anything to do with weight loss drugs. So you announce even that you're going to offer it, and it goes up 30%. It's not like they just created one out of thin air. They're just offering it, but holy. I'm just curious on short interest on this puppy here. Looks like grabbing it.
I have a
I got
question.
about 9%.
I got a question here.
Yeah.
So it's an online company, right?
So here's how the company
Yeah, because
works.
how are you going to get an ejection online?
Here's how the
That's what I
company
wanna know.
works and why I don't love like the basic model for Hims. So what Hims will do is it takes a package of like generic drugs. And so it started as like a preventative hair loss company. So if you sign up for a Hims package, they'll send you a box of generic minoxidil, which is like Rogaine, generic finasteride, which is like Propecia, a prescription drug you can buy to help prevent hair loss. And you're basically you're paying for the convenience of getting all these things together in one box. If you went out on your own and bought all these things individually, the generic version, it's a lot cheaper. So if anyone does like 5 minutes of research and is like, oh, I can just go buy my own generic Rogaine from Walmart and get prescribed this finasteride on my own, you can do it a lot cheaper. But I think people pay for the convenience. And to get the one prescription drug, you do need to get a prescription from the doctor, which Hims makes it really easy to do. You can just do like a little video call with a doctor, and they make it really easy. But again, I don't love the business model, because for most people, if you go do that on your own and get these generic drugs on your own, it's going to end up being cheaper than what you're paying for Hims. So Hims, you're basically just paying for the convenience factor of it. But now with the GLP-1, I think that is interesting, because it probably is, less of you can just do it online. You do a little telehealth meeting with the doctor, and then boom, you got it.
And it's going to be made, it says, I was just reading this Bloomberg article, the copycat drug is going to be made by undisclosed compounding pharmacies. I don't know what the hell that means. So you don't actually know what drug you're getting? I'm just like, again, I didn't research any of this yesterday. So just, help me out here, chat. But that's what I just read in my 2 minutes of research here. It doesn't sound like, they're using the Lilly drug or the NV or the Novo Nordisk drug. It sounds like or the Novartis drug. It sounds like they are the Novo Nordisk. I mean, it sounds like they're just using generic. Like, what's the deal here? I'm trying to understand who's drug.
There's compounding pharmacies, because there's such a shortage of these drugs that, and actually when the Ozempic, when all that stuff went crazy, Lisa was like, she was bugging me, like, the research and stuff to open up and it's very very complicated and very expensive to do, but I think they're regulated labs. I don't know, man. This is a lot of stuff on a stock that I don't follow very much.
Yeah.
Big move yesterday. I would say set it and forget it if you're already long, and just hope it doesn't break into that gap area. It's trading up a nickel, so the bulls and bears are kind of, fighting it out right now. That $20, there's nothing there on the monthlies or dailies or weeklies, so use that as a target. Maybe get a couple days of consolidation, and then another move higher. But that's what you're looking at. Nice move in Hims, up full flat in the pre-market, but reached its highest level. Oh, what do you know? Since January of 2021.
Yeah, and last thing, just this is not really on Hims specifically, but on the overall weight loss drug story. My mom, who works in hospitals as a PA, texted me the other day. Also, we have a hold on starting any new patients on weight loss medications and have to ration what we have in stock right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been like, the demand
Everybody
is still
wants
there.
these.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting move from him. People in the chat are talking about you have to inject it yourself, but that's actually how a lot of the, Ozempics and other ones are as well. They have the patients inject themselves. All right, let's get back to earnings. Let's go to one that came in this morning. Lowe's reported earnings this morning, and the stock is trading higher. So the numbers came in. EPS at $3.06, beat the $2.94 estimate. Sales came in at $21.36 billion, beat the $21.1 billion. And then let's see, earnings and comparable sales top consensus in Q1. So I saw a headline that basically said that people are spending less on do-it-yourself projects, but Lowe still reported good earnings. So the stock is trading higher. You had Telsey Advisory Group come in with a $230 price target this morning, a couple minutes ago. I don't know. Stock trading higher. I don't really have any other thoughts on this one.
This is a tough one. It's almost a pass for me here. I'm just trying to see where the valuation is on Lowe's. I'll just go to my trusty Benzinga Pro here. Got to bring out the details and just see what they give
Forward
me.
PE 18, price to sales 1.5.
A little under a market multiple. Yeah, you're faster than me, AB. Yeah, I mean, it's there. Lowe's. Are you gonna kill it on Lowe's? Maybe. Are you gonna get killed on Lowe's? Probably not. It's just kind of there. I mean, Home Depot, Lowe's, almost the same companies here. Home Depot, I can't remember what they did. Did it go up and then down? I can't remember the Home Depot report. It was like a week ago. Or it went down then up.
It went down and up. Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what?
It usually fades.
Both these stocks are in consolidation station here. And I'd say, look at this, tradetherange.com here. You've been up at this 237, 238. Now you spiked it over 240 in the pre-market. That was a little bit of an overshoot. But when you stay in a range like this for that long, you just got to be patient. The bottom of the range, 225, 226. You can see the top of the range, 238. That is yet to be proven in the regular session, but that's what you need. You need to move above 238 for more upside. And heaven forbid, if you break 225, then I don't know where you're going to go. 220 on the thick stock like this, unless the market falls apart.
It's not a huge mover.
Yeah, I've had this one for a long time. I don't know where the cost basis is, but
how many stocks do you have in your long-term portfolio, Joel? Because
which one? I don't
know which one. Overall, how many stocks just across you and your wife's portfolio?
Not like you.
No, I don't have that many anymore either. I may have 40. How many you got?
I would say less than that. Probably 30.
30.
Probably 30.
What's your biggest holding? Do you know?
Cash.
My biggest holding too is cash, which has been a mistake, by the way. It's definitely why my long-term per account has underperformed to a certain extent over the last. Actually, over the last couple of years, SPY's gone nowhere. My long-term account's been okay because of the cash, but I mean, over the last 4 or 5 years, we got a little bit too much cash, a little bit too nervous about market multiples. I'm like Buffett. I'm sitting there following him. I'm sitting like 40% cash, and it's a little bit too high. Should be down at like 10% or 20%, but just not like this is nothing that's like, wow, what a deal, steal, unless you're just going to go buy China stocks with it all, which has crossed my mind a couple of times. But every time they start to rally, it starts to leak back here again. There's Alibaba giving you another pullback right on cue. Don't chase any of those Chinese stocks because they just pull back.
Yeah, there are certain stocks, and I talked about this with NVIDIA and Apple, that I just see as buying opportunities on any dip. Baba is not in that category for me. I'm not just adding to my Baba position every time there's a dip, because every time there's a dip, I'm like, this could be, whatever. And then with NVIDIA, with Apple, I don't have that same fear when I see it down 2%. I'm like, all right, well, I know this thing's coming back. I mean, obviously, I don't know that this thing's coming back. I don't want anyone to, clip that and use that against me later in life. But I feel comfortable buying NVIDIA and Apple on basically any sustained dips. Baba, not so much. It's just a little bit not the same story there.
Kramer said Baba. And last night, somebody was asking him just on, I think it was a lightning round. And he says, this is actually the cheapest stock in the world, like out of everything. And you know what? I was like, I don't know if I can even disagree with that. It is so cheap. The company's grown revenues and earnings so much, but they just hate China stocks. It is likely if you just went around like for bang for your buck, and obviously you find PE is cheaper, but you look at where the earnings have went, where the stock have went, it's unbelievable contrast. We should get those charts. The earnings have just continued to grow, revenues continue to grow, and the stock has continued to go down. It's like just hated so much because it's in China.
I saw an interesting headline overnight that Taiwan Semiconductor and ASML, they have the capabilities to shut down their chip making if China invades Taiwan.
Yeah, remotely. I saw that too.
Yeah, wow. I mean, do you think I'm worried about them making chips if China goes into Taiwan? I mean, come on.
Just imagine if they stop making chips, though, for like 6 months or a year. Everything has a chip. I told you my ceiling fan has a chip. Ugh. Everything has a chip. Just imagine.
Have you guys seen
Intel,
that?
You got to step up. We need these U.S. foundries here.
Have you guys seen the ASML machines, like how big and complex they are? So ASML, let's see if I can go pull up a picture of it. So an ASML machine, I was looking at them the other day, and apparently like they have, oh, here, I got a picture of one. They're just insane how many components, like parts, pieces are in it. And they have, so this is like one of the companies that's helping actually manufacture the chips, whereas NVIDIA and AMD and stuff design and then sell the chips. So these machines right here, like the one we're looking at here, have over there's more than 500 companies supplying parts for this machine. So you start talking about pick and shovel plays for this industry, for the semiconductor industry, and it's an endless list. I mean, there's a lot that probably aren't publicly traded, but a lot that are. And so, if you're looking for, what company is making like this little tube that goes from here to there that helps these semiconductor machines produce these chips, there are a lot out there. So I don't know. Wow. I mean, if someone wants to do the work, it's probably a little bit too much work for me, but to go through and figure out like which ones of these pick and shovel plays, suppliers are the cheapest or best plays, then there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Yeah. I mean, this industry is just going to continue to grow too.
Chip?
Yeah, that whole machine makes just one little chip, and then they have to shut the machine down and build a new one.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many different plays in the chips, and this is probably going to be a good segue into LRCX, which has huge news here today. Yep. But ASML is another play that doesn't get a lot of media attention, but the stock just quietly has continued to climb. I mean, we're $400 a year, just a year and a half ago. We're now $900 a share. So lots of different ways to play the AI revolution. This is another one, ASML. LRCX, though, AB's got some news, company news, and they are doing a lot of stuff to what Joel would call as financial engineering, and it's working.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, the stock closed up over 3% yesterday. So it was a good day for semiconductors. People were buying NVIDIA ahead of the report, but still maybe some people had some knowledge. But then this morning, Lam Research announces a $10 billion share repurchase authorization. So $10 billion stock buyback and a 10-for-1 stock split. So at some point, so this comes in October 2nd. This stock will go from around $1,000 a share to $100 a share.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you do a 10-for-1 stock split and you're in an industry that's getting a lot of attention, a lot of retail love, I think that's a pretty good thing. Helps make the stock a little bit more affordable for the little guy. So, Lam Research trading up another 4% pre-market this morning, again, after closing up more than 3% yesterday.
What a move. I mean, you have major overhead resistance at $1,000. So you just got to look at this and say, wow, resistance is super well defined. Psychologically, probably from an optionality, and then technically, 3 highs, March, April, 3 highs just over $1,000. So your resistance well defined. If it gets up near 1,000 the first time, maybe it falls. Actually, maybe it already did that. I don't know how high we got in the pre-market there, Joel. It's a great company. I think this is a preview of what NVIDIA is going to do here too. I don't know if they're going to do it on the earnings call, but NVIDIA, I believe, is going to do a stock split, and maybe that's the next propel to get this thing over $1,000. Maybe it's just the earnings. Maybe the earnings are going to be that good, but I think even if the earnings, let's say, just weren't just blowing it right out of the water, imagine they did a 10-for-1 stock split. That would do it. So there's lots of good things to happen for NVIDIA coming, and as much as LRCX just did a 10-for-1, I think NVIDIA could do a 10-for-1.
Boy, you got to 995.26. That was just around the 715 bracket. So a little bit shy of that $1,000 area. You'd have to make up 15 bucks in order to get there. But this kind of environment market today, let's get to that pre-market high. But you may find sellers at that $1,000 area. The all-time high 1,007.39. But we gotta first things first, take out that pre-market high. Triple D, watch out on the bids there.
Little
I don't
leak.
think, yeah, we got a little bit. We are tight. How about this volatility coming
It's
in
coming in
here?
a little bit.
A
Yeah.
lot,
Coming
Dennis.
in.
A
Yeah.
lot. I mean,
Tight.
ahead of the NVIDIA report. Boom. We'll see. We got the double close, the double all-time closing high, 30 53 53.33. That was the close last week. And then yesterday you went off the board at 32.75. And I
I
don't want
mean,
to call double top before you have a double top, but you have a double top in the SPY and you have a double top in the S&P.
Steve asking a great question here. Is there an ETF to take advantage of all these stocks? Like the ETF that I trade the most with the chips is the SMH. So, it's the one, it's loaded up. We'll go to the exact holdings on the SMH. It's always a fun exercise here just to tell you which specific stocks. Obviously, NVIDIA is going to be number one. We already know that, not even looking at it. But SMH is 24% NVIDIA, 9% Taiwan Semiconductor, then 6% Broadcom. Then they got KLA-10 Core in there, Applied Materials, Lam Research, ASML, Micron, AMD, Synopsys, Qualcomm, Cadence, Analog Devices, Texas Instruments, NXPI, Marvell, Microchip, all the stocks that we pretty much talk about on this show. But you do have that heavy NVIDIA weighting. Like maybe somebody doesn't want to go 24% do NVIDIA here, but SMH is obviously, the way that, a lot of diversified traders trade, or invest in the chip space.
All right, couple minutes till Mr. Red Dog Scott Redler joins us. Actually, just popped in backstage, so we'll bring him on in a few minutes. Let's see. Do we have some other? We did. Oh, we haven't hit Zoom yet. Let's go to Zoom real quick just before Scott comes on.
Sure.
Yeah. So Zoom reported earnings, stock trading down slightly. Numbers came in. Let's pull those up. EPS came in at $1.35, beat the $1.20 estimate. Sales come in at $1.14 billion, beat the $1.13 billion estimate. So the numbers were good for the previous quarter, but then the company's guidance was a little bit lighter than what the street was looking for. So the stock getting hammered this morning on that. A lot of analysts coming in and lowering their price target on Zoom this morning. You had Bernstein, you had Baird, you had Rosenblatt, you had Stifel, all coming in and lowering their price target on Zoom. Obviously, this was one of the pandemic darlings. I'm not saying the story is completely over here on Zoom, but it certainly, has changed a lot in the past couple of years.
And it's a cheap stock. Forward P is only 12. It's been that way because the growth is gone. Like it's not even like revenue growth 3%, in the 1 year revenue growth. So there's no growth here. So, that's why they've given it just that cash cow multiple. A lot of cash cows that don't have any growth trade 12, 13 times. We got a dozen drug stocks that we follow closely that trade with that multiple. The only way Zoom gets away from, and the competition's still coming for them, that's the problem there too.
Yeah.
The only way they can get, that multiple expansion going is if they give us a new product. They're a one-trick pony right now. They've been a one-trick pony for a long time. They need like a cool AI product or something. Like that. Whoa, I want that. Imagine you had here I am. I'm not a Zoom executive, but imagine they came out with something, boom, we're going to go AI and it's going to be Zoom meetings with AI involved here. I don't know. There's got to be something that they can do. They need to put more in R&D here because this stock's going to go nowhere until they come up with something new.
You had some buyers, really consistent buyers in the 61 handle, May 2nd all the way through May 10th. So you dipped in just barely into that area in the pre-market. So look for that as potential support. And you can, of course, lean on the recent low of the move. Got to get a good 64 bid, 64 and a quarter bid to get more upside here. But just one comment on this stock. You look at when this, the COVID era and this stock went to 588, 84 and stuff. this never gets any, and I don't know what the short interest is, but this never gets any love on those short. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, I'm categorizing that stock in that area, but Zoom, it just never even really catches a bid with that. So
I
that's
laughed out loud. Evil DJ says, Zoom AI, you don't even need to go to the meeting and the stock skyrockets. I'm sending the triple D AI zooming into the meeting here, and I'm just gonna sleep in.
Well, Zoom has
Nobody
announced
goes to their job anymore. It's just the pretend Dennis. This is fake Dennis.
Zoom has announced some different like AI tools and stuff for its platform, but I think the problem here, A is like you said, no earnings growth really, Dennis, and then B, the moat
None to be had.
has just been depleted. I mean, you have, whether it's Google coming in with Google Meet, or Microsoft Teams, other companies do what Zoom does, and so
competition.
yeah, I mean, there's
wicked.
there's just nothing that differentiates Zoom from the other, because as soon as they implement their AI products, so is Google. Google's going to, and Microsoft will as well. All right,
this
8:30
StreamYard product that we're using here feels so much superior to the Zoom product, because I know me and Joel use sometimes over on the PreMarket Prep site there, PreMarketPrep.com. We use Zoom, and you know what? I just feel like the StreamYard is a better product. So there's better products coming too. So let's get Red Dog.
Yep, let's go ahead and bring Red Dog hanging out backstage. Let's give him our special pre-market prep. Welcome. All right, Mr. Scott Redler joining us back here on Benzinga's pre-market prep. How you doing this morning, Scott?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Are you in a sauna?
I was going to say that, Dennis. Dennis, you're fired. Quit taking
No, I
my
took your
line.
line.
Yeah, I'm going like this.
Remember
No,
last
you just steam a
time
little
I
bit.
was in a Russian bathhouse.
I was
If
gonna-
you guys look, there's other different kinds of backgrounds you guys could do, but I know you guys like to have your the logos and everything. For me, I'll just go with what I like to do in the morning when I do my own prep. I usually do it in the sauna. I do it in the ice barrel. That gets my mind ready for the day. So figured why not be in a sauna for the interview today.
I was going to say,
Awesome.
we can tell this is like your indicator. We can tell your market outlook, whether you're joining us from the dark and gloomy, Russian bathhouse that looks like it's a little bit, seedier versus this nice sauna where you're, so are you bullish then today? Is that what that means?
I don't know. I'm kind of flexible today because, market's trying to prove that it could hold this upper area after making new all-time high yesterday. You got a little bit of mixed action. I have a bunch of positions working across the board that I'm managing, but I'm, trying to figure out what's going to give me some clues on the day. I guess the real setup or the real story is how does Microsoft react to day 2 of their event, right? Yesterday, Microsoft acted well. They didn't sell it. Usually they always like to sell the event. Usually an Apple event they sell or this or that. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not Microsoft could hold and join some of the mega caps into all-time high land, and that can give us some clues on whether or not tech holds up or it turns into one of those drifter down days.
All right, well, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, just before you move on, up here, right, you make the new all-time high. So, bullish, right? New all-time highs are bullish and whatever, triple Qs and the S&P. So, you get a couple days of consolidation. So maybe you're neutral to bullish. And I know the indicators that you like to look at, but I listen, like what to you would signal like, hey, man, we came up, we made this all-time high, but looks like neutral to bearish or just bearish?
Well, it depends on how stocks react this week. Like, last week was awesome to be bullish, right? We took out, 524 in the SPYs. We hit a high of 531. That's 5-6 points on top of the move that we saw post-Fed when we broke above that wedge. So now the question is, how do things react? Do they react in a way that's, like you said, neutral to bearish or neutral to bullish? So one of those things would be Microsoft. Like if you looked here on Microsoft, let's go to my chart that I put up here. It's pretty, if you think about it, Microsoft itself has been in this range since like February, right? It's gone sideways for 4 months. So it's not like it's priced for perfection. It's not like it's extended. So here you are, you have 425.81, which is yesterday's high. We're above it. Then you have the all-time high right here of like 430 or 431. So if today everything's excitement and they just could sell the news, and you better be careful. There's not a lot of momentum. Stocks are getting tired. But if all of a sudden today they come out with their event and they talk about their Copilot Plus and how it's more for retail, not just business. And they wind up buying it and it takes out 431. Then, hey, you know what? There is still some names you could buy high and sell higher, kind of like Google, right? Google gave a little bit of clues that, hey, Google was able to be bought on a dip a week or so ago and it made a new all-time high. Yes, that trade is still there. That trade is still working. So when that trade stops working, then you have to be a little bit careful. So maybe Microsoft we see today. Or like, Netflix yesterday was another trade. If you look at it, look at that. It gave you two different types of trades. It filled the post-earnings gap, which was one, then consolidated above the 8-day, and then hit a new, not an all-time high, but a year-to-date high above 639. So these type of trades are still being rewarded. So if all of a sudden it should happen and it doesn't happen, then next time, like, hey, maybe the market's not doing that type of trade right now, so we need to back off that and look for something, a little bit different.
What's interesting is so many of the mega caps now look like they're if they're not at all-time highs, they're trying to get there. Like you're saying, Netflix, we're still a ways off. We're 60 points off, but we've come back so far. Google making new all-time highs. Amazon is not far from making new all-time highs. It's basically right there. Microsoft, obviously, consolidation station for 4 months, and it looks like it wants to break out. And even Apple coming back here now. We know NVIDIA is a horse, and obviously that earnings is going to matter on Wednesday, which we can go to in a second here. But what are your thoughts with this mega cap love here again across the board? Like earlier in the year, we saw a separation where some mega caps weren't participating. They were hitting Apple. Now it's like they're buying them across the board.
Listen, there's still some separation. You still have Tesla in the doghouse.
Not anymore. I threw Tesla out of the mega cap.
That's gone. All right, Apple was pretty much out of play until post earnings, and that kind of was like reborn. So that's been a good trade. I'll be honest, Amazon's been hard. The last two times Amazon went back to an all-time high, it failed at 190. So active traders obviously, weren't happy with it, including me. Every time you thought you could add for some momentum, it pulled back in $4 or $5. So they're still not giving money away on trees because some of these things are there. It depends on how it trades and how you approach it. So, there is opportunities, but it's not that easy. It's never that easy, right? Otherwise we'd all be rich. But so, they've been going very specifically one at a time. Same thing with Meta. Meta got put in the doghouse a little bit to rebuild when they came out and said that they have to reinvest in more AI. And it's been in a range for 4 or 5 months. So if you're focused on Meta and not on Netflix or Google, you're not, you're upset. So it's like you have to still be prepared and move your go-to list around based on the best setup. And if you only focus on one or two of them and the other two are working, it definitely could be a little stressful. So what you got to do is do a little bit of everything and wait for the action to confirm something. And you have to be right place, right time. It's not just a blanket buy or a blanket sell, which, rarely is. But even in a group like this, it's not all or nothing. It's one by one at different times.
What about NVIDIA? We're going to come into the earnings report that everybody is watching. It's tomorrow night. You got the chart up there right now, so we might as well talk the technicals here. Talk about the setup going into the earnings and how are you playing it?
All right, so I do trade NVIDIA every day because it's one of the best moving stocks out there that if you're right, you get paid. So with earnings out tomorrow, it is priced for perfection. And how many times could it beat and raise? I do think that there's a chance that it does it. As a professional trader, do not take stock into earnings. If you've been in NVIDIA for 2 years and you own the stock, you're an investor, okay, you're doing just great. For me, what I did is, I actually, if you remember this bull flag last week in NVIDIA, I actually was buying the 925 and 950 calls for that and in the stock. So I did get rid of those. Into this little pullback, I said, I'm going to buy the $1,000 calls because my FOMO, everyone has their own kind of FOMO. Some don't want to miss a miss and a down 300 points is, hey, if they beat and they guide and they do a split, it probably takes out 975 and we could see 1050 to 1100. So I kind of don't want to miss that type of trade. So for me, I bought the $1,000 calls for $25 down to 18.25 on Friday. I did trim a little bit into this push up yesterday because I had too many of them. And now if we are to see a push into tomorrow, like just say they want to get back near 960 or 970 prior to the print, I'll use that action to actually make a call spread and finance it a bit. So I'm actually risking a little less, but I'm still involved to not miss that type of move because those type of moves are awesome to catch. If you could also trade it after hours, if all of a sudden, it trades where if some people don't understand what's happening and then it trades through 975, I'll trade it after hours if it gets above and stays above that. So I'm approaching it in a way where I'm defining my risk, and I'll have my levels for after hours, and hopefully, there's good opportunity. If all of a sudden, they beat, but it's not enough, and they guide, but it's not high enough, and they don't split, then chances are my option play will lose. And yes, traders do lose money. Even on TV, they say they make it all the time, and everyone on Twitter never loses, but I do lose money here and there. So if all of a sudden it trades lower, I'll be like, all right, what levels could be mapped out? So this way, the next day you could perhaps go at it after the binary event and make money that way. So, you have to have multiple plans. And for me, that's the way I'm going to approach NVIDIA tomorrow.
Scott, so right now, I mean, looking outside of NVIDIA and the other stocks like reported earnings this week, what have been movers that you've been watching?
Well, what's beautiful? Like, you look at something like Qualcomm. Qualcomm, we talk about pro earnings gaps. Qualcomm came out on, what was it, May 2nd. So if you did an option play, you made money, or you could have bought versus, this pro earnings gap, and look at this move in Qualcomm. So you're still seeing pro earnings gaps happen, and then they're giving you swing trades thereafter. So Qualcomm was a good one. You mentioned Apple before. Apple was great too. Apple, once it gave you this 180 level here, you could have been long versus it, and it's been trending higher, and you make $10 an Apple. That's not so bad. So there are still some pro earnings gap type of plays, post numbers, post binary event to trade that's rewarding investors. So it's still showing you that things are trending higher. So that trade is still there. So even if, just say, you don't take options into NVIDIA because you don't want to risk whatever it is, there might be a pro earnings gap to play for a swing type move. So for now, that's what I'm watching with earnings season behind us. And I've been, to be honest, my best trades this week were really weird ones for me. I've been in uranium since last week, and it finally broke out. And I bought a lot more IBIT and BITO calls on Thursday, Friday, thinking that Bitcoin was going to take out 65 to 67,000. And now here we are pausing at 71.
Scott, before we let you go, do you mind telling us a little bit more about this super simple gap trading ebook? We've got a QR code for it on the screen, as well as a link in the description.
Well, you know what? As we have Apple, it's perfect. Some people don't want to take a stock into a binary event like earnings. Then all of a sudden you get a big gap up, you define your risk, and it turns into a swing trade right there. I just gave you two examples that I teach in that book. Okay, post earnings, you get a big gap. If it doesn't fill that gap, you could trade versus that gap and have a nice swing trade. Look, you could have done it in Apple, and you could have done it in Qualcomm. So those are two ways to define your risk with a pro earnings gap in order to make a bit of a move. And look at that, it's above the 8-day moving average, which is another E-type book that we've done over the years, where once the stock's above the 8-day moving average, there's momentum, there's usually price appreciation. So all of a sudden you do a pro earnings gap and it stays above the 8-day. It gives you two reasons to have extra confidence to be long that for a swing trade, and then use your tier system and you add shares and take them off so you can net money and let trailers go.
That's the last question I want to ask you. And obviously you make some fantastic calls, Scott. How do you know when to take the profits? And I've struggled. I've been 25 years professional trading, and my entries are excellent. I've never been great on the exits. I usually get out too soon, or, and most of the time it's usually too soon. That's usually my problem. How do you hold on to get the meat? Like I always joke, like I take the first bite and I get a nice trade off of it. And then I watch the thing go another 10, 20%. I'm like, how in the heck did I miss, the bulk of the move here? How do you exit a trade?
Well, you could use your tier system. You could exit some and hold a portion, exit some and hold a portion. And then if it continues so much and you're out of it, just have some gratitude and say, hey, I caught a nice trade. You could use day count rules also. Day count rules usually, like here, like let's look at this Qualcomm again. Like in here, you had your first, gap up, gave you a push, it held. So right here, you're not selling. It's just clearing a prior area. So maybe into a 3-day move, you're reducing, right? Because you have like a bull type flag above the 8-day. This actually could be an add, and then you're trimming. So whenever you're really extended from the 8-day, I say it's always good to take a little bit off. And if something's up for 4 days in a row, you stayed for those 4, say thank you and just trim it. And it's not all or none. That's something I've said over the last 30 years. It's not all or none. You don't have to put it all on at the same time, and you don't have to take it all off at the same time. You could put it in at the right time, or put some in, and then when it triggers and goes, you put in more, and then you pick spots ahead of time to sell some. Like let me give you actually I'm gonna give you a good play I think right now. Look at Eli Lilly. Okay, Eli Lilly has been in this what's it called, channel now since February. So it's going sideways. So this is how you could use your tier system, because same thing happened kind of down here in January. You could be buying some small just to keep you engaged with it, and say, hey, I'm going to buy whatever your tier 1 is, and then when it gets above 795, you're in tier 2. When it closes above 800, you're in tier 3. And then chances are, unless it's a failure and it's a false move, it'll go to 803 and come back in. Chances are, if it breaks above 800 and holds it, this thing's going to go another 80 points. So you try and hold your whole position to maybe 810 to 815, then you let off some, and then you already book some, and then you just manage the trade based on the price action. But for now, you don't have to be in it all. You're in some because it's in the top end of this overall channel, and then once it gets in motion, you add to it. So at this point, you incubate a trade, then you go after it when it triggers. When it's in motion, you let it go. Try and keep your hands, back, and then trim some, when finally it starts hitting some of your targets.
The streaks is important too, right? And you made that after the consolidation area. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes they go 6, 7, or 8. But streaks are important, and keeping an eye on those closing prices for the move to continue.
Exactly. A little commitment. That's why a closing price is always important versus just intraday.
All right, well, Scott Redler, the Red Dog, always great to have you on. We get some great guests over from T3. Again, if you want to check out Scott's book, hit that QR code in the bottom right hand of the screen as well. It's in the link in the description. Scott, thank you so much for hopping on with us this Tuesday morning.
Scott, we got to see you in the pool next time. I gotta help you with that stroke. So you work from everywhere. So we'll see you from that pool, and we'll work on that freestyle a little bit.
Oh yeah, you're good at swimming, Joel?
Joel's the swimmer. Joel's
yeah,
U.S. champion over there.
Have you ever done an Ironman or anything like that?
Oh man, yeah. Well, with the Ironman, I can bike and swim, but that running, I would need a car. I can't do the running part. But,
you can't say can't. You can't say can.
Oh, running, man! I want to tell you about when I did the turkey trot. My sister beat me. Okay, thanks, Red Dog.
All right. Good seeing you guys, and good luck today. And I'll be in touch and see you guys in the weeks ahead.
Appreciate it, Scott. All right, guys, that was Scott Redler again from T3 Trading. We do have that link in the description if you want to go check out that simple gap trading book. All right, we've got about 7 minutes left. I'm trying to see if we've got any other.
It's just, I just want to bring the headline. Christian Fromher's tweeting it out here. Nutanix and NVIDIA collaborate to accelerate enterprise AI adoption. I mean, again, why own NVIDIA is because you just get a mention with NVIDIA and boom, your stock goes up, 3.8%, just like that. It's so much power, that NVIDIA has. And obviously we're going to see how powerful the stock can be on Wednesday. Yes, it's a rich valuation. Yes, it's run into the earnings to a certain extent, but holy mackerel, this story is just not going away. Just mention NVIDIA and your stock pops 3.8%. NTNX, if you want to do technicals on that one, Joel, I believe.
Okay. Oh yeah, what
all-time highs.
Yeah, all-time high. We'll see. It's a mention. Wait for that pre-market high. Do a little Fibonacci extension here to see what the average trading range. That's a big move from 65 to 72 in the last few days. So right now, that well bid at the pre-market high, 74.90. If you have a target in this area, the news is helping you out. So take that target. But looks like you're good. Just breaking out again. And you also talk about mentions and stuff. I think Qualcomm got a mention that Dell was using some of their chips in a new computer, and boom. So there, Qualcomm quietly making a new all-time high here.
All right, well, we've got a few minutes left. No economic
Macy's.
Okay.
Yeah, no love for Macy's. I'm long Macy's. This is good for me.
Let's go to
Talk
Macy's.
Macy's.
I guess retail ain't dead yet. Macy's reported earnings this morning. EPS came in at 27 cents versus the 15-cent estimate, so almost an 100% EPS beat there. Net sales came in at $4.84 billion versus the $4.86 billion estimate. So earnings were pretty good. Outlook, they looks like surprises with profit beat and upgraded the outlook. And then you also had some analysts coming in this morning, upgrading the price target there. So Macy's getting a boost up about 50 cents this morning. Again, I think the biggest story here is just that retail is not dead yet when people had written off these mall stocks a long time ago.
Yeah, the stock is dirt cheap. We know that. There's still the potential that this could be a deal in here too. I've been long Macy's here for about a month here now. I bought around $19, so it's not too far from where I bought it. I was like, I take it through the report. I was like, you know what? I think there's enough, speculation that's still a deal. Even if it gets hit on the earnings, I think it'll bounce back. And then the earnings were actually pretty good. So, but they're sitting around here and people are waiting for a deal. Maybe it doesn't happen, but the stock's got a 3.52% dividend. They got the real estate, the stock. And to your point, the consumer is not dead. They're still buying. The earnings are good. So it's a cheap, it's a cheap stock. It's not an AI play, and it's not a huge holding in my portfolio, but it's a normal size position in my long-term portfolio. I'm sticking with it. I think there may be a deal here eventually.
19 to 20, it's been your trading range since you broke out not too long ago on May 2nd. Came down to 19. They bought the dip yesterday. I don't know why they slammed this down under $18, down to 17.80. But if you're looking for a nice move to the upside here, you got to clear out those sellers at 20. You did pop over there in the pre-market going to 20.06. But here you got 3-4 highs in that area. So that's what I'm looking for. And Macy's get above 20. Recent high of the move has been 22.10 in May. And you know why they're doing so well? Because there's no one else at the mall. They're all going out of business, and Macy's is the only place there. So
only place to go buy things now.
Yep. Okay. All right, 8:57. What else do I have?
There was a couple other earnings plays. I don't know if you want to talk the AutoZone or Zim Holdings, XPV. Tonight we get Urban Outfitters and Toll Brothers. We know the home builders seem to keep firing on all their cylinders there. But really Wednesday and Thursday is where we're going to get this started. Obviously, NVIDIA is going to report Thursday night, but Target, you get some retailers, Target, TJX, Snowflake, Elf Beauty is always a mover here. Got hit yesterday on a Stiefel note. Workday is Thursday, and Autodesk. Deckers has really been firing on all cylinders. It's going to report there too. So there's some interesting reports here this week.
Yeah, it's not just NVIDIA. Obviously, NVIDIA is going to be getting the vast majority of the attention. But like you mentioned, Dennis, we've got some other stocks, to talk about as well.
JP Morgan.
Can we talk JP Morgan? It was huge. Got hit big time yesterday.
Yeah. What was Jamie Dimon saying? He said basically he was thinking about retiring. Is that why the stock went down?
I don't know. What I heard, and maybe I didn't listen to it, but just what Twitter was talking about was they said about buybacks, and they said in this environment, he's like, no way. He's like, I'm not doing any buybacks in this environment. I'm like, that, when you CEO says that, and he is one that is ultra conservative and always talks, basically bearish on the economy. And, maybe it's because, JP Morgan before, was very risk and they're conservative now, conservative approach. So he always talks conservative. He's always worried about what's coming around the corner here. But he basically said, in this environment, I'm not doing any buybacks. And I'm like, oh, that's going to hit the stock. 204 down to 196 is bouncing here this morning a bit, as, the best of breed stocks often do get bought. I don't know if I'm coming on the first candle here, JP Morgan, but valuation isn't crazy on JP Morgan. Let's just go do the technical struggle, grab the valuation.
Yeah, 7 out of 8 days it was
times
up. Yeah, so it was definitely a little bit elevated, but now you got a big reset here. All-time closing high that was made on Friday at 204.79. Years a ways away. You know what? Let's see if sellers we're only at 196.20. But let's see if you rally up over the next couple of days if the 200 sellers come out again. I know you got the 205 and change, making a new all-time high yesterday, a key reversal. let's see if we can hold yesterday's low and get some of that ground back. But what a streaky
What he said was
stock.
they would not buy back the stock at
Oh,
this
we got
price.
something news. We got something, Dennis. There's something going on here. We just had another drop. I know I make a big deal here. Do we have some 9? You know what? We got a Fed speaker out there, I bet.
Yeah, I was
This
going to say we have no economic
Fed
data
speak?
this morning, but we do have some Fed speak.
Fed
Fed
speak.
Governor Christopher Waller. Well, he was supposed to come on at 9 a.m. So unless he came on the
That's
mic and
Waller.
immediately was saying, some,
Waller.
cold
Waller.
open and was like, hike, we're hiking
Waller.
up. We had Waller at 9, and then 9:05, New York Fed President John Williams is giving opening remarks, and then at 11:45 a.m., Fed Vice Chair for Supervision Michael Barr is speaking. And then tonight at 7 p.m., you have a few different Fed officials speaking together on a panel. So again, no economic data releasing today, but you do have some Fed speak scattered throughout the day.
Hey, yesterday's low was 23.25. I have absolutely no reason why that was the low, but we'll see what we're doing here. Bulls have to step up at that level. If not, Friday's low, it's closer to 5,300 at 5305.75.
So here it is. Fed still needs a few months of good data to cut rates. That was the commentary that just broke here just now.
That's such a shock.
What happens? It was actually, and it's Bostic. I am not in a hurry to cut rates. I want to make sure that policy easing is unambiguous. Though businesses are confident about the economy, they don't feel they have the same pricing power as even 6 months ago. I don't know. There's a bunch of crap he's saying here. So, anyways, it's
rates aren't going up. They're not going down. I mean, come on, folks. Let's just face reality. We steady as she goes, and that seems to be pretty good for the market. But retail earnings season. Who do we talk to during retail earnings season? Who's our guest? Our go-to guest? Come on, wake up, you guys. Are you guys
I haven't
sleeping?
been here for retail earnings season.
Yes, you are. Yeah, you're
Ryan
fired.
Craver.
Okay.
It's not Craver?
Yeah, Ryan. It is Ryan Craver.
I'm good. I know. I got your back, Ryan. I knew. I was giving AB a chance.
No,
Ryan Craver.
You know what? AB might be
So the big
right.
comment from Bostic, just to finish it up, he would rather wait longer for a rate cut to be sure that inflation does not start to bounce around. So he's basically saying no rate cuts for him in the immediate future here. They need more data.
Aaron might be right because I think last time Ryan was on a Friday.
Yep. That's not my best day of the week. All right. All right, guys. It is 9:03.
Quit picking on him.
9:03.
It's Apple. It was the phone. I got your back, AB.
Thank you, Dennis. Now I'm rooting for the Oilers in the Western Conference.
Go Oilers! Thursday. Be there, 8:30. It's a little earlier start. I won't be so sleepy.
Yay. That's what I need too. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to Pre-Market Prep this morning. We do have live trading starting up right after this. Tomorrow, again, tune in. We'll be back 8 a.m. speaking some retail earnings. Till then, stay green and make sure to hang out again. Live trading starting up right now.